Looking at the S&P right here. Again, weird. Imagine not having these boxes. Just kidding. Ultimately, we ran down. We snapped. Oil held right here, kind of hit that zone, kind of really hung out. We finally broke down, made it to that yellow zone. If you go to the daily, and we just bounced right off it. Remember, the yellow time frames, they are the 4-hour daily time frame. There's only one candle difference in there, which is why I say 4-hour or daily. Now, we bounced out of that. We sent it. It was a good Friday, right? Like I talked about, profit taking for the shorts. Good old fashioned take profit Friday. Now, if you went short and you covered your profits, that's buy side activity. Sell to open, buy to close, and they might have just bought to close right here. You caused the ramp up. Maybe market makers are reining it back in. So you really don't know. Is this the bounce? Now, I had talked about this not being the crash. If you just go to the video right before that, how it doesn't seem like this would be the crash and more of a 5% pullback. And right now we went from the high to the low, 5.09%. I kind of think we are going to rally right here. Now, who knows what or why? We'll leave that to the, the excuse committee. We got to find a name for them. I don't know. I don't really care. Remember, charts are where they vote with their money. I follow the money and greed first. Everything else comes second. It's a good conversation piece, but also, hey, where are they leading things? Where are they trying to take things? And it's not that news doesn't move the markets. Some news certainly is, out of the market's control, and it's a surprising factor. A lot of it is put out there to create exit liquidity, just to create that drama and liquidity to keep things moving, keep things greased, which is why I focus on this first and everything else later. Now, what I'm watching for now is actually going to be one of these two yellow zones. We could turn around at one of these blue ones. That's why they're there. They are zones. If anything, probably more this blue one right here. So I'm going to keep an eye on one of these three for a lower high. Now, if we get that lower high, and it more than likely going to be one of these two zones. I'm thinking yellow if we could get there. That's when I will buy the put. If you guys are part of the community, you guys know I bought puts. Told you I was going to buy put. And if it's not a call out service, but if you agreed with my analysis, you took a similar play, well, you made some money, right? Bought the SPY put. SPY melted down. Locked that in because I don't think it's a crash. I bought August expiration. Locked that in, and I'm thinking it pops up a little bit higher, and then I'm going to get back in that one. So right now, futures did gap up a little bit. So we gapped up, opened up here, hit that blue zone, currently selling off. This is what Donald in the chat is talking about, how we just filled the gap. We gapped up, we just fill it. Well, we'll see. A lot of time before market opens. So before we start worrying about bullish or bearish, I'll tell you my chips are going to be on the bearish side. I went ahead and hung out over the weekend, and I even told my chat that let's hang tight, because this is a very awkward moment to just be a great time to go short and kind of play the overall trend. But if it's just going to be a 5% dip like we've had multiple times, we're probably going to get the continuation up. And I might just, if we're still here or higher in the morning, I'll have to be bullish. So keeping an eye out for that. If you guys, there is a new chart link for the YouTube members. If your name is green, if you're on my Patreon, I will post that as soon as this is done. There's a new chart link. For anyone that doesn't know what that is, if you can actually just click the join button on YouTube. I don't think it's there for mobile. You got to be on a computer. But look in the community tab. You'll see a link. You'll just save the layout. So you'll have all my zones, all my lines. You'll have everything. He says, I know you're referring to the Wii account, WII. We will play ours. Exactly. So anyway, if you're trying to load my charts, the zones aren't working. That's why. New link. I will post that. If you're in the Discord, it's already there. Look at the NASDAQ. Look how identical those look. All right, so as far as the NASDAQ goes, we actually ripped this. This thing looked a little bit weaker, too. We talked about that. Came all the way down to this zone, ultimately bouncing. We got a bounce Friday. Did not make it very far. Now, we made it from here to here. Banging. Now, if the S&P is walking, then the NASDAQ is running, right? Now, it gapped up. It's certainly down a little bit more. This actually has quite a bit more to go, even to call it a dead cat bounce. I mean, this bounce is quite literally nothing. This is what I expect the cat to bounce if its last meal was peanut butter. You know, there was just a giant shock absorber. Didn't go anywhere. The spicier play would be to go along the Qs right now. I might lean towards that as well. New all-time high if we don't go lower. I think we have some ground to cover before we can, actually call that out. Some people can call it out now, and again, they'll probably be more coincidentally right than anything. But let's see if we don't make a lower high first, because if we pop this thing up, we get another jobs report or PCE, and then all of a sudden it's bad, and we melt this thing down. You'll end up looking like a fool. But more importantly, what you don't want your account to look like is a fool's account. So we could talk about it. We can call it all-time highs. We can call it brand new lows. What's important is, how is your money positioned? Because if you think new all-time highs, then full send. I assume we're 100% in calls, because why just go along when you can add leverage to that? And I'm doing this whole rant not just to you off your comment, because you did say if we don't go lower. But for everybody that is making a lot of call outs, it seems in this volatility, being in the position I'm in, I get to see a bunch of comments and everything like that. And there's just a lot of definites out there. And I don't think the volatility right now is worth the definite comments. We are above the line right here. And if you guys are new here, when I talk about the VIX, it is a light switch. It is an on or off scenario. That's why there's just one line on here. Ignore this. I don't really zone this out. I don't care. I don't really trade the VIX. I do have a VIX call. So completely forget what I just said. What I don't do is when it gets down here, I just start buying it up for no apparent reason, hoping something comes along like Freddy the Cougar and scares the market. But remember, so guys, I've been doing this for 13 years. Every candle so far in this last over decade has been red or green. Nothing's changed. So until that day comes, I'll just keep trading the same way. And when the VIX is below this, that next red or green candle is going to be a smaller medium. When the VIX is above here, that next red or green candle could be a big red or green. And that's when it's time to dial back the allocation. Let that movement make up for size. So remember, if there's a spicy move coming, you can whole account it, win big or lose big, or you could spend a whole lot less and make the same. And that's a banging deal for me. I like it when the volatility is high, because instead of risking $2,000, I get to risk $500. And all of a sudden, it's making what a $2,000 position would make, a $2,000 in risk position. Looking at the expected moves right here. Man, if we just had a green week, go straight to the expected move. Market makers can just sit back at their desk, and we still put in a decent lower high. Looking at the Grandpa Dow. Now, Grandpa Dow really hanging out back and forth between here. I gotta say, I think I'm bullish. The other day, I might have said this looked weaker, and it did. It was kind of hanging out. I want to say I was bullish the other day, but just in case I wasn't, I am now. I think we're basing out. I think we've seen a lot of. I think the fear is probably going to calm down. In that case, you'll see some of these pop up. If you really are a fan of trend lines, I guess drag this thing out and see how it interacts. If we're going to keep it on board there. Now, the reason why I draw trend lines, because you might hear me talk almost bad about them, and it's not a bad. It's just kind of more of a warning, right? Now, I draw trend lines because I do all my planning at night, right? Stock market's not moving. Futures are open. 3 people are trading, right? In the Tokyo session, 3 or 4 people. I could probably text everybody in a group text, and that's how many people are trading. It doesn't actually matter. But tomorrow, I'm looking at my phone. I set alerts at night. My watch will vibrate, and then, boom, I open the chart up on my phone. But the real estate on my phone is like this. So then I'll know, these are just my notes. Like, hey, we could be looking out for a lower high. We'll keep an eye there. That they're not playable events for me. Would you ever upload a futures trading session done by you? Yeah, I have. You can look it up on the channel. So we can see your execution. You can edit and skip the boring parts. The part is I trade futures zone to zone. So I would have to just screen record all day. And then, I call it out in my chat. Aren't you in the chat? I went long here. And then I'll move my stop up, and then you'll see a few hours later, move my stop up. Move my stop up. It really is boring. Except for the, I think TEM was probably the most, Because that was move my stop up, move my stop up, move my stop up, move my stop up. Yeah, here's the most as far as call outs in a row that's happened. Stop loss at TEM 53.85. Move the stop loss, put stop loss up, move the stop loss on TAM, added 10 shares, put the new stop there, and just kept going. TEM pumped, new stop 56. This ends the saga, I think, because I was kind of just going to leave my stop there. But I trade futures just the same. Nothing changed. I don't scalp the futures. It was actually a while back. I used to really scalp futures, but then I realized you just make pennies doing that. It was a $10,000 trade, and because I went from zone to zone. I was like, why don't I just trade these yellow box to yellow box? And it actually was, I think it was on the Russell. It was a report that came out and just sent the thing. And I just trailed it the whole time. Was it? Maybe it was right inside here. And ever since then, I was like, nah, I'm for sure just going to trade like I trade everything else. Is that a 50% retrace on the Dow? Are we talking about right here? Want to draw some little rainbow boxes? For the Fibonacci people out there, let's do this. Where are my Fibonacci? Fibonacci. I think we did this backwards. Yeah, hang on. We're backwards. I do just want to shout out my buddy. I don't want to say his name, but his kitchen island. His off. He's an island in his office, and it's to the exact Fibonacci coordinates, numbers. There is a word I'm looking for. Pretty close. We're just past it. 50. Isn't it wild? Of mathematicians from that long ago just found a random pattern in numbers, and people are making millions off of it. Probably not bad. Let's go to the daily time frame. That's not a bad spot. Fibonacci people probably are excited to buy the dip right there. Let's see. Measurements? No, there's another word I'm looking for. It's not measurements. The numbers the ratio, Fibonacci ratio. That's what I was looking for.